Clouds? 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 Clouds?
Welcome back, nerds. I've been feeling nostalgic lately. I've been revisiting my roots and playing the games that I've played for a long time, and one of those games that I've played for an extremely long time is a game called Hearthstone. You know, that competitive card game that Blizzard made with all of the fan favorites from World of Warcraft. Not even being a player of World of Warcraft, I have played this game for an extremely long time. Not continuously, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to make this video assuming that you have no knowledge over Hearthstone, you've never played this game, and you have no idea what I'm talking about. So if you do have knowledge, please just be patient with me. Hearthstone is a collectible card game just like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon. Meaning you open packs, collect cards, build a deck, and then face each other. Hearthstone would release in March of 2013 and within the same year reach competitive level of play. People playing for big prize pools and big tournaments and big names showing up. But in these early days of Hearthstone, there were some funny issues with the game that truly kind of hindered one's ability to have a good time. I played, don't get me wrong, so obviously it was enjoyable enough, but there was a certain aspects of the game that really kind of put one off, especially players that, well, frankly, don't have a buttload of money in their pocket.
Broke people should never laugh!
Now, I know what you're going to say. I saw on YouTube one guy had a free-to-play account and he made it all the way to Legend. You can do it. Frankly, I'm not going to comment on whether or not this game is pay-to-win. I don't think it is pay-to-win, but I certainly think it is pay-to-have more fun quickly. Or pay-to-win more quickly. However, what I really want to do with this video is take a look back and think about some of the issues that this game had at launch, or at least in the early few expansions of the game, and compare to how the game is now. I want to take a deep and honest look at some of the complaints I definitely remember saying back in the day and see if some of these problems are solved. So I guess the question of the video is going to be, is Hearthstone in a better place than it was in 2014? When this game first released, you got one quest a day that was worth 75 to 150 gold. You could then spend either 100 gold to buy a pack to open more cards to make your deck better, or you could spend 150 gold at the arena, which is essentially like a draft-based system where you would draft a deck and battle there instead for rewards as well. This was never ever enough gold. You'd finish all three of your quests in the matter of an hour or so of gaming, and then after you have earned all of your gold for the day, you buy it on, let's say, 2 packs, open your 2 packs, get nothing, and then you can't really earn anymore. Actually, you could earn 10 gold every 3 wins. Yeah, but that also capped out, so you could only win after about 30 wins in a day, you could only win about 100 gold there. So at most in a day, you're opening 2 to 3 packs max. Not only was this frustrating, but this just limited your ability to play. It limited your rewards and your desires to do anything more than the minimum quests of the week. Because frankly, even if you went up in rank, you weren't getting any cards or any gold to get anywhere. And that was particularly frustrating. But how does the quest system look now? Well, it looks like now you earn rewards based on whether it's an event or just daily currency. You get this currency by completing daily or weekly quests, which is a nice addition, which you can change out to get better quests or better rewards. You then get that currency to fill out the pass, the rewards track, in order to get gold or rewards or cards or legendaries. It also has an achievements and a profile page now. In all the ways the game's changed over the years, this is probably the best thing Blizzard's done for us ever. This reward track makes sense, it's cohesive, you have enough to do, you have enough rewards. I really enjoy this quest system. You don't have to overwork yourself for rewards or just enough gold to open some packs, and this is a welcome change. Not only that, but the free rewards you get on occasion too, all of these things point to definitely a much healthier space for the game in terms of economy. Do I still think they could give us more freebies? Do I still think we could have a little bit more? Maybe so. But I do think that this is a step in a great direction, and unfortunately it just took a long time for us to get this.
I'm just better than you.
This part of the video is going to kind of split off into two tracks, and that's kind of for a funny reason. When I first started playing this game, there were very few extra modes, and there was really only standard and ranked. But at some point, after the addition of so many cards, they had to kind of make a choice. Do we want to keep allowing all of these cards to exist in the same space, or do we want to make different game modes with different sets of the cards? And they ended up making two different modes, one called Standard and one called Wild. For any Wild players out there, and that's mainly what I play these days, but for any Wild players out there, you'll know that there really is no meta. There is no one or two decks that dominates that sphere, just simply because there are so many cards and so many options and so many broken decks that most of the decks that are in the Wild are either garbage combo decks or they are the strongest decks that have existed in the history of Hearthstone. So Wild players didn't have to deal with meta grinders, but when this game first came out, there were a lot of people that simply, when new cards came out, looked up a deck, built it, and then played that deck because it had 1% higher win rate than every other deck that was made. I'm looking at you, Pirate Warrior! But this was so rampant that some of these decks were good enough you could just put a bot in, let the bot play for you, and I have played against thousands of bots in this game in all of my time, and the bot would still win! Standard had some of the most whack metas and some of the most ridiculous card combos that I have ever seen, and I think it was probably one of the least enjoyable periods of this game, is when decks like Pirate Warrior and Mech Paladin just dominated the sphere. Yes, you could win against them. Yes, you could even get to Legend against them with a deck that maybe didn't have as high of a win rate. Maybe it was a Tier 2, Tier 1 deck still, just not the best deck, and you could definitely still get there. But it was just so frustrating when literally every third game was a Pirate Warrior, and that was just everybody's game plan. I'm not going to ramble too long about how irritating some of the metas were, but I am going to just say that this is a problem that I think discouraged me from playing as much, and probably others as well. And I bring all of this up just to point out that for Standard players, I don't think this ever went away. I think that they certainly have their balancing team a little bit stronger these days, but I think for Standard players, you still have meta writers that are looking up the decks and simply just finding out what has the highest percentage win rate every single expansion. And I simply don't respect that style of gameplay. I'm struggling to even blame Blizzard for this one because, frankly, this is kind of the community doing this, but wherever you have a competitive community, people are going to hedge their bets in any way they can. But this is a rampant thing that occurs in this game, and it's something that I definitely wanted to talk about, and something that, in 10 years of this game being out, hasn't gone away.
Wow, that's a lot of words. Too bad I'm not reading them.
The only caveat I'm going to give Blizzard in this section is that I'm going to give it to them that it is probably somewhat difficult to make content for a collectible card game. How do you incentivize someone to spend money to get cards from an expansion or buy the content themselves to play, a fun game mode with a specific story, while making it engaging and fun at the same time? The task that they have to fulfill is not an easy one, and I think that shows. They have some true hits. They have made a few expansions that I think truly were enjoyable, creative, and new. For anybody that's played the game, I'm sure you remember the expansion where you could do the test lab, where you had all these specific cards and specific endings and you had to find the lethal. That was a fun expansion. That was very creative and something new for us to do. But there was a turn some point where I think eventually we got an expansion that was pretty much nothing but story. You still get rewards, you still get exclusive cards or maybe golden versions of legendaries or special cards, and that's cool. But the actual content of the expansion itself was simply fights against opponents that are difficult. They have special cards and special decks with things you've never seen, and they have perfect draws, all to simply give you a difficult experience. I imagine some people really like this, but for me, it feels boring. I might be alone on this one, and if so, please call me out on it. But I've always felt like the expansions just lacked a little bit of luster and a little bit more attention to detail. I think if I spend money on a game like Hearthstone and I decide not to spend it on opening packs, then you really have to entice me with a fun experience. And for a lot of the expansions, especially the more recent ones, I think we've kind of lost some of the fun and some of the creativity that maybe we even had at the beginning, but it's just not there. And I don't think that even at the beginning we had maybe what we could have had. But this isn't something I want to criticize too much because, like I said, I don't think the task that they have to begin with is an easy one. So you kind of have to do what you can do, and I'll give them credit for what we have.
This deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain...
Deck building in Hearthstone is strange. Remember I said you spend your gold and you get packs, which you open up and you get 5 cards from each pack. If you play the game enough, you'll start building up a collection of cards and see that these cards all kind of do similar things, and sometimes certain cards work really well together. So ultimately your deck will be filled with either 30 or 40 cards that all synergize well with each other, work well with each other, and ultimately will get you the win. However, if you only open packs and use the cards from the packs that you open, you will never build a successful deck. You may get a copy of a card you need for a deck that would be good, or you may open a couple of cards that work well together, but you will never get a whole list of cards that work well together. For instance, let's say you open a pack from a certain set of cards that has a lot of pirates in it, and you want to use the pirates so that they synergize well with each other. However, if you open those packs, you're going to start getting cards for other things and not pirates, and you're not going to ever get the epic and legendary that you need, and this is kind of a problem. But don't worry, Blizzard thought about that ahead of time. I mean, way back in 2013. You can just disenchant your cards for this currency called dust, and then use your dust to craft whatever cards you want. Problem's totally solved, right? The problem is that when you're constantly disenchanting cards you open just to craft the cards you actually want to make the deck that you actually want, you never have a true material feeling for these cards. To truly stay in touch with the meta, or to truly build the decks that you want to build, you have to constantly be recycling out the cards that you're opening and making the cards that you actually want. And we established earlier that even now with the improved quest system and more gold, you're really not getting enough cards every day to build decks as frequently as you might want. You never gain any attachment to the cards you open because you know they're just going right into the dust recycling machine. Even if you're buying some packs, most people don't have enough money to buy all the packs to get all the cards from every expansion, and so this really doesn't allow people to make the decks they want to make at free will. You have to simply dust every card you ever get, and if you ever want to change decks from one you already have, well, go ahead and start disenchanting every card you made for that deck that you were already playing. I don't think any collectible card game has a perfect system. Look at Magic the Gathering Online, that thing is terrible. But to limit your players to such a degree that they constantly have to cycle not only their cards but also their decks just to keep up with the meta if they're trying to chase standard or simply to just change it up and have some new fun, I don't really like that system. And it's been this way for a very, very long time. As a mostly free-to-play player, you can see here that I have 7 total decks, and a few of those decks have crossovers in terms of the fact that they're using most of the same cards, just 2 somewhat different decks. Meaning in all my time of playing, I've collected enough dust to have 7 different decks, and truly probably only 4 different sets of cards that all synergize well together. If I wanted to make a different deck, something new right now, I would have to go through and start disenchanting one of those decks and all of those cards simply to have enough dust to get the cards that I want to make a new deck. If you ask me, and if you ask the average Hearthstone player, I think we would agree that we would want a little bit more freedom than this to craft the decks that we want without having to spend money to do so. One thing that they have done in recent years is actually given away free decks. The deck you see here is actually adapted from a deck that was given to me by Blizzard for free. They give you all the cards, all the legendaries, everything you need. And I think this was honestly a great step in the right direction. and I wish that they would do stuff like this a little bit more often, and frankly, this was way too late for us to get something like this. But free cards, am I right?
It's time to play the game.
Alright, there's really not a lot to say here. There used to be, like, not many game modes, and now there is some game modes, and that's about it. No, but in all seriousness, Blizzard has released quite a few game modes over the years, and, most of them have honestly flopped, in my opinion. I think the 3 true game modes of Hearthstone that have lasted the test of time, not including a separation between Wild and Standard, that's just Constructed, is what a lot of people call it. So, not separating those two, you have Constructed, you have Arena, which is that draft-style game mode I was talking about earlier, and then you also have this newer one called Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds is essentially just a live draft-style battle all going on all at once, and I think that's kind of a fun game mode. Arena's lasted the test of time, of course, and Constructed is great as well. But everything else that they've made, and they've made quite a few other game modes, has just been not fun. They have ones where they introduce different cards. They have ones where you work together to fight AI with people. They have had quite a few different renditions of these game modes, and most of the time they are just not very fun, to be completely honest. I think you have a lot of rules to follow, and it's probably very difficult to make new game modes that's following cards that already exist in a pre-existing card game. But over 10 years, they've had to have come up with some better stuff than they have now. The worst part is they even recognize that they're terrible because they've taken a few of them out of the game and came straight out and said, sorry, it just doesn't have enough players. And speaking about not enough players is a perfect segue into my final part of the video.
Unless they got any big giant robot camels, I think we're okay.
Now, there have always been some bots in this game, I think everybody knows. But the pure amount of them is nuts. I think on average, every other game, no matter what the game mode I'm playing is, I'm playing against a bot. You can definitely tell based just on their gameplay, they play very particularly. They won't make a play for a really long time, and then they'll make all of their plays all at once, but kind of slowly, methodically, waiting for each card's entire animation to play out. And then the worst factor, and the most obvious giveaway that you're playing against a bot, is that they will never hit end turn. Never in my life have I played this game so much and had to sit there against my opponent, playing against me, but not ending their turn. Having to wait the full, I think, minute and 15 seconds with the rope burnout every single turn. And it drives me crazy. Like I said, I think this has always existed, but the pure numbers has just gotten pretty awful, and I think that this is a problem that shows the death of this game. It's sad when, more often than not, I'm playing against what I'm assuming is an actual bot. I don't get to see creativity, I don't get to make friends, I don't get to add someone after the game and talk about their deck. Once again, I don't think we can point all of the blame at Blizzard. I think that some of these bots are definitely made by players, but I don't think all of them are. If you're at a point in your game where you're allowing the bot farmers to bot farm, what does that say about your game? I think it says that they've given up and frankly are just trying to cash out on anybody that still loves this game fervorously and will never give it up. But if they wish to make the experience better at all for the average person, they would definitely try a little bit harder to get rid of some of these bot encounters in games. And frankly, I think they have the potential to do so. Is Hearthstone in a better place than 2013? That was our original question, and I don't know that I have an answer. A lot of the problems that were originally created when this game first came out have been solved and have been worked on. But a lot of problems have also been created or frankly just ignored over the years, and I think that in a lot of ways this game has evolved but stayed the same. I think the average player would agree with most of my takes, but if you don't agree, please comment down below just about your experiences or what you disagree with personally. I read almost every comment on almost every one of my videos, and I would love to hear what you guys think and what your experiences have been with this game. To answer the question, I think I'm going to go with the Socratic method, though. Socrates was a famous Greek philosopher who challenged people on what they believed and why they preached what they believed to people. And one of the things he says a lot of the time is that he doesn't know. He doesn't know what honor or courage or love, what these abstract ideas are, and he simply tells people to go find out. And I think ultimately my message here, if we want to get rid of bots, we need players in the game. And if we want to make differences and make change, this game still has to stay alive. So is the game better than it was in 2014? Well, Socrates would say go find out. I appreciate you guys for watching to this point in the video. You guys are absolute legends for watching my content, for giving me the time of day. I can't scream from the mountaintops my appreciation enough. Also, don't fight each other in the comment section about whether or not this is a good game. I just wanted to make a commentary about what I thought about the game, and I felt like this would be a fun video to make. So please, no negativity in the comment section. I really appreciate it. Otherwise, you guys have a blessed day. Take care, stay hydrated, and stay safe.
I'm hiding. You hiding forever. Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky. Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky. Ricky, when I catch you, Ricky. Ricky, when I catch you.